like you lost another one.
There we go. Hello. Hold on. Ooh, thank you for joining us with Get Into It with Tez and Chris.
Yeah.
I think I accidentally unplugged the wrong thing here. Silly me. Leave it to me to do such. Okay. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go. Because I don't know what I did.
Uh-oh.
But it's me. And you definitively know, excuse me real quick, that it is a live show. Because we got hiccups.
That happens. Oh man, I guess.
So honestly, okay. I don't know. But we're gonna make it work. Whew. Well, let's get started with some trial updates. And we got some doozies. So, where to start? All of the Crumbleys, the school shooter from Oxford High School and his parents, are all three in court separate days. All asking for extensions on their probable cause hearing. Because there's so much evidence that discovery has not been completed as of yet. And the parents have requested via their attorneys, because remember, they got a massive legal team for themselves and left Ethan with a public defender and a guardian, that they want to set forth a motion to address bail. I don't know how that's going to go. So the parents, James and Jennifer Crumbly, were arraigned December 4th of this year. Their bond is at $500,000 with no 10%. It still has not been posted. They are charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, and there is no contact allowed between the two of them, even though during court they kept mouthing, "I love you so much," to each other. Ethan Crumbly's case, he faces 24 charges. Terrorism causing death, 1 count. First-degree murder, 4 counts. Assault with intent to murder, 7 counts. Possession of a firearm in the commission of a felony, 12 counts. He is a 15-year-old sophomore in high school. He is being charged as an adult. He's being held in isolation. And so he may not even know that his parents are in the same facility as he is. And his public defender argued that he should be returned to the juvenile facility that he was originally in, because they feel that isolation in big boy jail is unsafe for him and he shouldn't be denied schooling. Like Miss Mama's, he shot up his school. He obviously does not care.
Yeah. This sounds familiar.
So the new date that we will see the parents in court for their probable cause hearing will be February 8th of next year. And their legal team filed the motion for the delay due to the volume of evidence and it being the holiday season, and that the families of the deceased are just now completing their funerals. I cannot make this shit up. And then we get to Miss Kim Potter, who is obviously responsible for the death of Daunte Wright. Her defense team has her looking like a soccer mom. Like dressing her like a soccer mom, like trying to give those vibes for the sake of sympathy. And given that she was a former training officer, her husband was a former training officer who's also was a taser trainer. So her whole, I thought I grabbed my taser knowing that it was a Glock 9, it's out the window. But she was the former president of the police union. Each police officer that the state is calling in, upon cross-examination, they're painting her out to be this saint. Like, oh no, I would have done the same thing. I would have felt like I was in... I'm like, this is not like Derek Chauvin. They're going to protect... Like, first of all, she's a woman. And she's obviously still connected to a lot of people.
There's already been that came and about that what she did totally in a different direction from that had given to officers. So I don't know, other than them trying to paint her at Mama Rittenhouse.
And Mama Rittenhouse needs to face some charges too. Who child?
I'm sure she got.
I am still extremely verklempt as to how she has yet to be brought up on any type of charges as of yet.
Right.
I do not get it. She has yet to be brought up on. Oops, there we go. Because I'm like, just like these parents, she knew her child was underage. She knew he had purchased a weapon. She knew where he was going. She was there as well.
She knew that she would him to a protest that involved black people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down. Would she have as a pro something else? Probably.
I'm just, but you know, audacity is what people have. And speaking of audacity,
in fact, she that are in Congress, as we know now.
Yeah, but let's go to this first clip because nope, that's not the one.
I am Joey Lynn. I am a homeschool mama. I stay at home with my son. My husband is a plumber. We are getting sued under the Ku Klux Klan law of 1871 by triggered Democrats and liberal politicians for flying Trump flags next to the Biden-Harris campaign bus when it drove through Texas last year. You may remember the viral video and seeing President Trump tweet, "I love Texas." It was so fun.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you right there because your recollection of those events is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit.
Hi, we are on I-35. We're a campaign bus and surrounded by about 50 protesting vehicles that have slowed us down to about 30 miles per hour.
They can't even drive. They're going like 10 miles an hour. Now they're endangering other cars the way they're driving.
That's our staffer. Don't leave him. Jesus Christ. Our staffer just got hit by a car. License plate is hard to read because
Oh my
he's
God.
blocked his license plate. He has 3 flags on the back, one giant blue Trump one, a red one on the right, it looks like a Confederate flag possibly, another flag on the left.
Yeah, it's a Confederate flag, all right. No, I don't see a bridge. We're coming up a little hill, so maybe I'll see it in a second.
Yeah, and we've been on the phone for about 20 minutes and there's no
I know you're really trying to help, but I don't understand what's taking
I
so
feel like I
long.
keep
I mean,
getting-
it's literally
My
getting
first one is
dangerous
there's
out
a
here.
million cars out here with a giant bus. I understand, but they're doing their best to get through there.
I mean, I think if they really wanted to help, they'd be here.
Where?
This has been going on for
Basically
40
letting them do
minutes
it.
now. We just entered into Travis County, passing 223 on I-35 North. One of our staffers' cars was in by a certain Trump
Oh,
car.
now he's putting them on.
It's gonna be a mess.
Tim, you're right. I worry about that so
Cancel the
much.
whole
Yeah, it's gonna be a mess.
Yeah, it's really funny because when you watch the video, it kind of looks like you were doing exactly what you're being charged for. You know, intimidation, harassment, endangerment. Yeah, I hope you get exactly what you deserve. It's gonna be hard to homeschool from jail, though. God. Sorry, not sorry.
Okay, so should we, now that charges are coming out in different areas, should we really be surprised that the party that's normalized intimidation, harassment, gun toting, even Christmas pictures with weapons, should we be surprised by any of their reactions of innocence? I just want to know how much of this, how much convictions can we rack up and send a certain message that they're not going to casually get away with a lot of these. We're not just seeing it from there. I mean, you're seeing it in your local communities where mothers taking their kids to school with masks are getting harassed, or you know, election officials, or anybody, school officials. I mean, the intimidation, harassments has become a norm, and they feel they're within their rights because somehow they think their world is threatened by people that actually want equality, people that want things that have never been in place. So no, I'm not surprised by videos that come out of people claiming their innocence. We're going to see a whole lot more of that, especially as the 1-6 comes up with more evidence for the public, which I hope that continues to be a public thing, because it really needs to be. So yeah, I hope they get exactly what they did, you know. I hope whatever suits the crime. You can't just do that on the highway and think I was waving flags. It's like you were watching the 1-6 saying, well, they were just, you know, up there protesting.
And it's like, okay, the party that claims that they hate socialism.
I can't barely hear you.
Is that better? Better?
Now, yes.
Okay. But it kills me that the party that says that they're anti-socialism, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, that Democrats and liberals are always looking for a handout. Every time they have to suffer a consequence, they're quick to do a fundraiser, especially GoFundMe, to raise the money to pay for their consequence. But I thought only conservatives had jobs. Isn't that their rhetoric? And they legitimately don't see any. Well, they see and know what they're doing is wrong. but they know that their constituents aren't that bright. So they
Well-
perpetuate these lies to keep it going.
Well, this started years ago when they turned their loyal base to ignore anything that was outside of their own media channels, so that they would not tune into other news stations. They would only hear what's funneled to them through certain avenues. So of course they're gonna those avenues are gonna normalize this stuff and justify while they're doing it, because they can't afford for them to lose any of their base. They're counting on every single one of them because they know that the majority is not buying into that. The majority is looking for something that is going to be a lot more diverse than this rhetoric that is constantly channeled through there. Now, yes, in some avenues people have come to light, but there's going to be those that do not even watch the news, even their own news. They're channeled through their communities or through their friends that are saying, yes, this is the way we need to go. This is the team we need to stick behind no matter what, by all means necessary. Those are the hardcores, and they're not going anywhere. They're always going to justify what they're doing. They don't care if, like with the COVID, they don't care if their own people are dying after they've told everyone to go take some horse stuff. This is just who they are, and this is the majority of what we're seeing in Washington on that side. There is no conservative. The word conservative has been long gone. These are radicals. These are people that want to look at the left as the evils, but the left represents democracy, and they're about autocracy. So when they want an autocrat, that's what there is. They look to Putin as the model.
Yeah, just like they know exactly who Trump is and what he's about. That's why they're using the model. Yeah. Now I'm going to play this clip because this is this woman's full video, no interruptions. Yeah, y'all just watch this and be entertained and a little pissed off and disgusted all at the same time. But remember, it's going to give you a little bit more context, and it's going to show you her grift at the end. Here we go.
Hey guys, I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. I am Joey Lynn. I am a homeschool mama. I stay at home with my son. My husband is a plumber. We are getting sued under the Ku Klux Klan law of 1871 by triggered Democrats and liberal politicians for flying Trump flags next to the Biden-Harris campaign bus when it drove through Texas last year. You may remember the viral video and seeing President Trump tweet, "I love Texas." It was so fun to be a part of that. It was fairly non-eventful, shy of getting some cool pictures, but 8 months later, we find out on mainstream media that we're getting sued by former state senator Wendy Davis, somebody who works in the White House on Kamala Harris's cabinet, and other blue checkmark Democrats and influencers. They're claiming we banded together on a public highway to suppress Black voter rights and minority voter rights, and they claim that we premeditated assault and attempted to run the bus off the road. Now, you'll remember from the videos, none of that happened. We drove peacefully alongside the bus for just a few miles, although this bus drove through Texas for several hundred miles unobstructed while people in all towns formed Trump trains to drive with it. So the 62-page civil complaint is full of lies that are malicious and frivolous and using the judicial system as a weapon against average Americans. This is called lawfare. They are making an example out of us to chill free speech in other Americans. In their press release, they claimed that they did not want Trump supporters to get away with stuff like this in the future. So what they're saying is they don't want you to be able to exercise free speech, which is your first constitutional right and a God-given right, by forming a Trump train together on a public highway. But they are able to drive a billboard-sized bus down the road, and that's fine. The legal fees are expecting to cost over $200,000 just to prove that what they're saying is a lie. They have upwards of 20 attorneys and 3 nonprofits funding this lawsuit. Again, I'm a stay-at-home mom and my husband's a plumber. We don't have $200,000 to fight this. So we're fundraising and we're counting on you to help us defend free speech, not just for conservatives, but for all Americans. They come for us first and then they come for everyone else next. We've made a website. It's free for freedomssake.com. That's FREEFOR. Freedoms with an S, sake. Free4freedomssake.com. Check it out, learn about our story, see some pictures, where we're speaking next, and donate to our fundraiser so that we can fight to defend free speech for all Americans. We appreciate your support and your love. If you could share this, tag somebody. We need to get our story out there because conservative media won't pick this story up, and mainstream media is slandering us as KKK and bus attackers. We love you guys so much. God bless America and God bless Texas.
Now let's just start with the fact that she's wearing a t-shirt that's a full-blown dog whistle saying, "Let's go, Brandon." Because, they're too chicken shit to just say what they mean, which is just
Right.
fuck Joe Biden. Like, just say it.
Yeah.
They don't have, I don't know how they estimated $200,000 in legal fees. Because to me, this seems like this would be like a contingency suit, especially since it's a civil suit, which means they can also countersue if they feel that they're in the right. But you don't have the money for that, but you have the money to purchase a domain name and put up a website. And then you want people to come to know when you and your husband, because y'all don't have time or money for anything, but you got time to have speaking engagements. You also claim that you found out about the lawsuit through the media, but the media isn't covering your story on either side. Not the right, not the left, not the middle. But you have the 61-page complaint. And you've already met with attorneys that you inferred that you did. And you're fighting for all Americans' rights because they come for conservatives first and then go for everyone else. Now, as a black woman living in the United States, and a woman who is hugely a scholar of history, never known for that shit to happen, because it's people who identify as conservative that start all the shit in this country, and they go after everyone that they feel is different from them. And then she really got me with it's under the KKK law. No, it's not. And then she's like, well, it's freedom of speech. You weren't saying anything, ma'am, Miss Mamas. You were literally driving people off the road, impeding traffic. You broke traffic laws. You were intimidating people intentionally, and you were working to suppress the vote, just like your politicians were in the good old state of Texas.
Yep. That was
Texas is hell. That's why it froze over last year. Shit.
Yeah, that's why they're wanting to seek independence from the U.S. Reckless driving has nothing to do with speech. Harassment does not have to be verbal. Intimidation doesn't have to be verbal. There's a lot of things that were shown that clearly state the obvious. This was not no little, hey, look, you're in one lane, I'm in one lane, talking about their thing as a big billboard. Hello. How do you think bands get around? How do you think anybody gets around in a tour bus? There are things that they have. They take them to places that do wraps on vehicles. That's what they have. It's big billboard. They're advertising. That's who they are. They have nothing to hide. That's who they are. But all that other mess going on around them, that was not in some distant lane on the side, or hey, we're just going to ride alongside of them. This was some reckless intent, and they would have all been applauding had the bus ran off the road. And
Joe, you're absolutely right. Trump had several tour buses driving around, and for someone who got caught in a Trump train once, they do it on purpose. If you don't have a Trump sticker, a Trump flag, if you're not wearing Trump regalia and waving at them and cheering them on, they will impede you in traffic. They will surround you. And the sad part about it is they claim that they're not racist, but if they see that you were a person of color in that car, they get even worse. I witnessed it myself. I even took video and posted it on 2 of my social media platforms. And within moments, Trumpers found my accounts and were like, oh, just leave people alone. How about they leave me alone? Like, this is a sickness. These people can't pay for legal fees. But I've seen Ford F-250s wrapped in Trump's face. I've seen people purchase every flag known to man with any variation of Trump 2020, Trump 2024, Trump forever, all this stuff. Like, and this stuff is not cheap.
Yeah.
I even saw a woman with MAGA tennis shoes on. People have gotten tattoos of Trump. And with it, I have tattoos. I know tattoos ain't cheap. Even my smallest tattoo wasn't cheap.
Right.
I'm like, y'all spending your money on the wrong things. I mean, I know you're not spending it on books, and a library card is free unless some things changed in some other places. But
remember, to be a loyalist, it's not them hiding behind the word patriot. It's the fact that it's Trump over country. I mean, it starts with extreme loyalty. As soon as you're not loyal, you're out to. Look what he did to Netanyahu. I mean, they feed off of his words now. He may not have the push he once did. He didn't start this either. This was something that was already in motion long before Trump got in the White House. But he empowered these cowards. He empowered them to the forefront. He empowered them to come up to the front row. I won't condemn you. Come out of your log cabins. I won't condemn you. I'll sing your praise. You can storm the Capitol, and I'll get on TV and say, we love you. I mean, this is not going away. And they've been there forever.
And here's the thing. They always say, we're not in a cult. You ever notice that every cult that pops up seems to have a uniform of sorts, a dress code? It's almost like the Catholic schools or private schools where everybody has to be in this uniform. You know,
Right.
Makes it easier for them to identify who's in and who's out.
Right. And now it's Brandon shirts.
And all of the white women that are die-hard Trump supporters, either one, all have the same haircut, or they're blonde. The non-white women, all have the same look. The men, it is like they collected every incel in this country and was like, come on, we'll make you feel better. We can give you confidence, and we have women over here. We'll get one of them to touch you. And they are shucking and jiving this week to avoid the Trump takedown. His tax returns were leaked to, I believe, the New York Times, who are currently going through them with a fine-tooth comb. Text messages came out from January 6th confirming who all knew about the insurrection and that Trump definitively knew, and how many people were trying to get him to stop. And the long-running joke that Ivanka Trump is Donald's favorite child was confirmed. Eric Trump, during an interview, slipped up and said that there's no way that his father, and I'm paraphrasing, could have been involved in Russian collusion because he doesn't have two good brain cells to rub together. Melania Trump is supposedly going to make the 2021 list of like the most influential people within this country, and Trump himself is nowhere on the list, and he's spiraling out of control regarding that. And it came out that Mitch the bitch has had an issue with Trump all this year and is refusing to have his back anymore. Trump has already also figured out that he has no friends at Fox News, that he was great for their ratings when he was in the Oval Office, but now he's just old news.
Yeah, there's other actors now they can focus on. Plus, we still have what's going on in Georgia with the calls that were made So we got a circle of things that I hope are going to be not all behind closed doors. I hope that we do have a lot more public.
Oh yeah, and Trump's homeboy Kanye West screwed him over big time because it came out that Kanye West sent his PR person down to Georgia to intimidate people
Right.
on behalf of Trump.
When he was supposedly running separate from him, which we all knew was total hoax. It was only to poll as many voters as he could.
He wanted to split the vote.
He actually did. He actually polled more than a lot of people thought he would. But that's just because there's a lot of people that don't really pay attention to the candidate as much as, oh, I'll just vote for that person.
And there were some people that are just such hardcore Kanye West sycophants that man could burn down an orphan in the middle of the street and they will still ride for him. Just like with Trump, it's sick. It's sick. And because they don't properly teach how the government is structured and how the government is worked in the United States school system, there are so many voters that believe any and everything. Because if I hear one more person blame the president for gas prices, I'm going to scream.
I know. I mean, that gas prices doesn't go on a president, period. It's like they have a switch they can turn on and off prices. Come on. Where I go is I know many people, Black and Hispanic, that still will tell me, yeah, I don't know who would have been worse, Biden or Trump. And granted, I know that Biden was not everyone's choice. I get that. But that comes from a place where people really didn't know Trump, like before he even ran. Like the Trump, since Daddy Trump, like the history of Trump. These are people that just see Trump now and think, well, I remember what Joe Biden was like in the past. So what would be worse? I think they're both the same. And they're the ones that didn't necessarily show up at the ballot, or they're the ones that showed up and may have put a vote in for 45. And a lot of people just need to really get a grip on what Trump would actually do as he's stockpiling the local, school boards, the election officials, to line up an idea where it's not about getting in and just going through your term. He wants to get in and stay, because it's not for the love of the country. He loves the privilege, executive privilege, and that was going to shield him to do all and be all, and surround himself with those that were going to be loyal. Anybody else that didn't want that was going under the bus. So people just don't realize or actually know what an autocrat is.
Yeah, and they failed to realize that Trump as president, it is the first time in his natural born life he has actually made money himself. He's never had anything be successful. He's never actually made money. And I think he just got it into his head like, oh, I really am successful. No, you're a clusterfuck, but
Well, look at Biden's spending. Look at where they're criticizing Biden's spending with what's going with the plans that actually are going to benefit people. People forget because they didn't see it always in front of them. Trump's spending. I mean, if you went back and looked at Trump's spending, it just wasn't always advertised because it wasn't for programs that were out there for streets, roads, bridges, water, people.
It was for a button in the White House, in the Oval Office, so that he could push it and be delivered Diet Coke. I kid y'all not. I kid you not.
And to serve people fast food burgers and things.
And to keep going to Mar-a-Lago and all of his, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, people forget that his spending was out of control. Biden's spending is actually, these are programs. These are going to benefit people. These are things that have to get through because people have been in need of things for a long time. And we're behind the times on a lot of things that are going to benefit people. Trump was never about, hey, I just want to get in there and really help this country out. I really need to help everyone from no matter who you are. I just want to come in here and help you out. No, that was never his agenda. It was always about executive privilege.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And now he doesn't have the military. He has his own personal militias.
And he's loving every minute of it.
His army. He sat back and watched 1-6 as his personal army.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he was so.
And the only thing that made him mad,
it didn't work.
Well, that, and he said, it's been quoted that it looks, the people looked low budget. But we're going to take a pause for the cause to run the Christmas ad. We'll be right back with you guys. And we're back, people.
You're ready.
And don't forget, you get 20% off until midnight on Christmas with promo code TAZTASTIC. So make sure you get to TazIsms.com and get you some lovely merch. And yes, there's more than just Christmas stuff on there.
Marvel.
Well, I can't put Marvel
You can't
up
do
there.
that. Yeah.
I ain't trying to be sued. But we got another lovely, beautiful clip. So let's go to that.
Oh, all the Republicans involved in the January 6th insurrection are about to be in some trouble. 2 January 6th organizers are coming forward and naming names. We're turning it all over. Uh-oh! Dustin Stockton and Jennifer Lawrence, not Hunger Games Jennifer Lawrence, are set to testify next week before the House Select Committee investigating the attack on the U.S. Capitol. The pair will deliver testimonies and turn over documents, including text messages that indicate the extensive involvement members of Congress and the Trump administration. Oh, this is about to get real, girl! Ah, man, I hope they get every single one of these traitors. Because what happened on January 6th is treason. Y'all get that, right, Republicans? Treason. Google it. Look up what that word means. What do y'all think of this? Comment below. Let us know. And subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, see, this is this is why you can't get in bed with criminals. People think like, oh, I'm the cool kid because I'm in with all the thugs and the bad boys and bad girls in town. They have no loyalty, my guy. They're gonna snitch on you because when it gets hot in the kitchen, oh, they running out of there. They running out. Yeah. They want that ice water. They're going to tell everything.
Mm-hmm. And those groups are going to form, they'll, if they do continue on, they just have another person step in and take over and lead. If it is an organization that they're going to keep going and hasn't collapsed, or they merge with another one, they keep the rhetoric going.
This is a perfect comment.
Their support now doesn't have to come from Mar-a-Lago.
Nope. That they follow him blindly because he openly hates who they hate and they make him feel comfortable. You know what? I've seen a lot of comments from people justifying why they love and adore Trump so much. And I think the one that has stuck with me the most was a woman who said that she believes Trump over journalists, scientists, everyone else, because he says what she's thinking. Let me repeat that. He says what she's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
He took this country back to 1942.
Mm-hmm.
So you got boomers, you have older millennials who grew up with boomers who were like, oh, it's PC to be openly racist again. I don't have to hide it. I know it's wrong, but if the president's doing it, they felt like they had Eisenhower or Nixon or Reagan back in the office. Because other than Trump, conservative racist GOP members all love Reagan, who was a homophobic, bigoted, racist, horrific president who had a wife that was giving a Gawk 3000 to everybody in Hollywood.
Remember, you got a lot of these people that have grandparents and parents who are old enough that they were in the crowds that were chanting against integration. It hasn't been that long. You know, this isn't World War One. It hasn't been that long.
Nope. My dad, my father is older than actually older than segregation, period, in this country.
Right.
We're not talking about a grandparent or a great-grandparent. My father. Ruby Bridges is still alive and has social media. So when they're like, oh, this was so long ago, you weren't affected by it. Bullshit. There are cities that just now are becoming desegregated in this country. Just now.
Yeah. If you've forgotten, how about you remember the Titans? Because that took place in an area close to where I grew up. And that was before I came along. But it wasn't that long ago. I mean, like I said, these people are old enough to say that, you know, I remember those days, I was chanting against it. And now, all these years later, we got someone that's saying, hey, it's okay. You know, come on out. We got to protect this country's whiteness.
And everybody thinks that they're fighting against CRT, aka critical race theory, being taught because they're like, oh, we don't want white kids to feel bad. First of all, white kids can learn about racism because we have to learn no sooner than we come out the womb. But that's not really why they're fighting against it being taught. They're fighting against it being taught because they don't want their children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, nieces, nephews, friends, and counterparts that truly are not racist, or they are trying to indoctrinate into racism to see their names, their faces in the school books. Because we are still living through history. So imagine helping someone with homework. And you see your aunt, not even your great aunt, your aunt or your older cousin.
Well, they would hate if one day their white child came home and said to the parents, I don't agree with your way of thinking anymore. I have friends that aren't white, and I actually care what happens to them.
Like what happened to David Duke.
That's a true fear.
Like that's what happened with David Duke and his son. His son admitted he was a staunch racist. What happened is he went off to school. He finally got out of that bubble. Because if you're not around people, you will believe what anybody tells you about the people that you're not around.
Right.
And when you're in a situation where you're a minor and you're not in control of everything, and somebody controls what you watch, what you read, what you hear, it's easy for you to be indoctrinated. He got off to college and noticed, well, wait a minute. The black kids are in class with me. They're not stupid. They're not lazy.
Right.
This kid that's not white is willing to tutor me, and he's far smarter than me. Wait a minute. They're not poor. His parents just wrote a check for his tuition. And he opened his eyes and then went back to his father like, yeah, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
And see, that's why they like to keep it to the uneducated, the small towners that aren't going to ever be able to leave their neck of the woods, where they're never going to see real diversity. So they just go by what you tell them, no different than when you tell a toddler that the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, and Santa is real. They have nothing to gauge it by. They're not logically thinking like, well, we don't even have a chimney. How would Santa Claus come see us? And if Santa Claus brings every child a gift, why is mom stressing about the holiday? And how come I only get one gift, but Timmy up the street gets 50? They don't think of it that way. They're like, oh, there's only 2 black people in this town and they're poor. And they don't make the connection that the whole damn town is poor. But they'll take their whiteness over anything because they believe that just automatically makes them better.
Look at our residential communities. I mean, if you look at how non-diverse housing is, there's a lot of communities where it's about, we're going to look at who's moving in. It's still there. Who's moving in? What are they about? How close are they to our house? Things like, you still have that separation. And that's where it's still getting funneled because they're all talking about themselves, all, within themselves as neighbors. And they're all about, hey, you're with us or you're not. If there's somebody new that moves in, granted, let's see somebody move in, regardless what color they are, and stick a, Biden sign in their yard and see what happens. There would be a lot of intimidation, harassment, nasty looks, whatever. You have a lot of that out there where people are afraid to speak about openly and have, in actual, intelligent conversations with people that can agree to disagree and still live amongst each other and still be okay. That doesn't exist enough now. That's gone. Now it's all about whose side are you on? Oh, you're with the evil libs, or you're one of those socialists. Total disregarding that they're part of a group that's associated with, electing an autocrat, whether it was Trump or someone else. They by all means necessary to regain power and keep it, because on fairness alone, they're outnumbered. If you can't play fair, you cheat. Because you can't win fairly. It's proven. We've seen. They lose the popular vote every time.
And it's so funny how ingrained it is in some people. Quick story time. In high school, I was on the mock trial team. Actually, not to toot my own horn, but toot toot. I was actually the best mock trial attorney on my team. Like, I was the little secret weapon. They never wanted me to take the role of a witness or anything else. And when I tell y'all, even to this day, my cross-examination is wicked. It is wicked. It is wicked. We went up against a predominantly white all-girls school. And this was leading up to like the big end of the year where we got to go down to the federal courthouse and, actually be in a courtroom. But leading up to then, there usually was like a room where we just like staged a courtroom. Their coach and everyone on the team was shocked by how well spoken I was. This is mock trial. You're learning about the legal system. You're learning how to put together proper arguments, openings, closings, how to object, all of these things. You spend months preparing. We should be on equal keel with just the basics. And one woman thought that she was complimenting me by walking over and going, well, we could probably sponsor you with a scholarship to come over here. Bitch, my grandparents alone could buy this whole school. I could have gone to this school. I don't want to. Because looking at the curriculum, I'm not going to be where I want to be when I graduate high school. The school I went to not only took me to the bar that I wanted to be at, but actually exceeded it. Because there were plenty of people who graduated my high school and didn't even have to go to college. They were already CNAs when they graduated or stepped into other programs. But I was just like, wow, I'm well spoken. And I looked at this woman and I said, you're shocked that I'm well spoken. Why? Because of my age or because of my forever tan? And she looked at me and I looked at her. I was like, oh, you didn't think that I could spot racism? I'm like, y'all still don't believe that we feel pain. But what are your final thoughts on the evening?
Yeah, my thoughts tonight are about the 1-6 committee. And that's really what I've been kind of glued to, because I'm forever hopeful that the heat just doesn't get put on. Because as we see a lot with trials, and this goes back to, and I know it's been talked a lot about, mafia trials, where you don't always get the boss to get on the stand. You work other avenues to get what you need. That's what this is going to take. A lot of people are worried about all these, subpoenas that, we're going to not have the people we want. We don't have Mark Meadows hitting the stand. We have other avenues, and they need to be utilized, and I believe that they are. There are many others that are going to reveal a lot of what we need, and they're not done yet. But I do hope they keep this ball rolling and make as much public, because this stuff just needs to be out there. I mean, it's got to get to the point where anybody that was associated with this ideology, with its plans, need to be held accountable regardless who you are. And I'm real curious to see how this goes, because it needs to be played out the right way. I know that they're stressing that be patient. We have to get it done the right way. Some of us want this thing to start rolling quick, but we also have to understand that they have to do it the right way. I can't wait to see where this is going, because they need to keep it up.
Most definitely. My final thoughts for the night, and just a little bit of my final thoughts also for the year. I'm going to get into that more in depth next week, but (2022) and every year to follow it should be the years of accountability. We've had the Reconstruction years. We've had all of these things. It is time for accountability. It is time for the unjust and those that willingly stand on the wrong side of history, and they're firmly standing on the wrong side of history. It's time for them to feel the discomfort that the rest of us had to feel and endure for years. It is time to stop punishing minorities and women for existing and start giving consequences. Let the consequences chase them. Like the three spirits chased Ebenezer Scrooge, excuse me, until people change and learn. Stop forgetting and forgiving people after a few weeks or a few months.
Yeah.
And by God, families of the victims that have been brutalized and murdered by the police, I do not care what your religious affiliation is or if you have none. What I do care is that y'all stop forgiving them. And don't hit me with that, but forgiveness is for you, not them. No, that's a crock of bullshit. Because when you blanketly and blindly forgive someone, you're taking away their accountability. You are putting them in a position where they never have to admit what they did. They never have to face what they did. Forgiveness is for them. It is never for you because you are still broken. You just healed them. Don't hug them. Don't sit there and be like, I forgive you. I want you to do better in life. No.
Accountability.
Racists care more about an animal, a plant, businesses, vehicles than they do other human beings. How many times do they need to prove it to you before you get it? It is time for us to break up being in these toxic relationships with these toxic ass racists. It is time to stop. Because trust and believe, if you hurt their feelings and they start playing the victim because they're already trying to win the gold medal in the oppression Olympics and creating scenarios of oppression in their minds, they're never going to forgive you. They will carry that beyond the grave with them and pass down that vengeance and that hatred towards you through generations. It's time for us to become the Hatfields and racists to become the McCoys, and that is that. But stop all this kumbaya. We can fix racism from love. No, we can't. That's why they always want to quote MLK. He tried to be so peaceful, and they chose violence to take him away. And then have the audacity to want to quote him and beat us over the head with his words as if we don't know. And the speech, you racist sons of bitches, always want to quote the I Have a Dream speech. Newsflash, he hated and regretted and resented giving that speech because he knew no sooner than he completed it that white supremacists and racists within this country would forever use it as fuel. But as always, what do I know? I will see you all tomorrow. And as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. And if you missed any of the shows this week, please go back and watch them. And when you come back, bring a friend. Nighty night.